Hey guys, so tonight we're here to talk about supplements. I'm really glad you came. I probably get more questions about supplements here in the gym than really more than anything, probably occasionally, you know, we get injury stuff and we get weight loss stuff, but supplements is probably the thing that I think most people are the most confused about because there's so much information and then you're not sure what's good information, and it seems like most of the information that's out is by people who are selling that particular supplement, so then that makes it a little confusing as to whether it's good information or not. So I put this together, this little sheet for you. We're going to roll through this, and I want to make sure that we have plenty of time for questions because I know that there is a good bit of questions because Bev was already peppering me with questions walking in the door. I told her she had to wait. So somebody else might need those answers. So anyway, so we'll just kind of cover the basics first. So first of all, why supplement? Okay, so there's good reason to supplement. I used to be pretty like, listen, you know, those supplements, and not everybody needs to be on them if you're eating a really good diet. And I kind of got put in check on that just because, number one, very few people are actually eating that diet. So let's just start with that. And reaching for that diet may not be realistic for everyone, and certainly not realistic at all times. So there's that, first of all. Most of us aren't eating that perfect diet. And in the real scheme of life, do you want to be eating that perfect diet? I mean, it seems nice, but I think we all like having a little wiggle room in our diet because part of life is having fun as well. So, also, our food supply isn't what it once was. So, like, we've come from a place where we buy our fruits and vegetables locally. So they're literally picked just about ready. We go to a farmer's market, and so they've had time to sit on the plant and absorb the most amount of nutrients and be ready to provide you with the most amount of nutrients. Well, today, you know, half of what we eat comes from California. You know, sometimes if you look at the little stickers, your origin stickers, they come from South America and stuff. So obviously those weren't ripened on the vine and things like that. So you don't have the maximum amount of nutrients. The ripening process is often done a chemical process. So they're exposed to a chemical that causes them to go ahead and ripen. So you can see how that rushes the process. They're not going to have as many nutrients. So that's really important. Also, because now most farms specialize. So like a farm does watermelons, or a farm does maybe carrots or something like that. So the same ground is used for the same process over and over again. So in old days when you would farm for yourself, you would farm one crop. You might have a cover crop. So for example, and this is probably wrong, but let's say you grew tomatoes or whatever, and tomatoes leach nitrogen from the soil, let's say. Then you would come in and plant beans behind it because beans give nitrogen back to the soil and they take a different nutrient. So you see how that would work, but we don't do that now because large production farms can't make money doing that. They need to produce what they produce and they do it well. So because of that, the soil is very depleted of minerals. Also, the tilling of the ground is really bad for the ground too. So that also ruins the soil, and it breaks it up, it makes it where the nutrients aren't where they're supposed to be, and it's just not a natural process. And then, of course, the last thing we already said, many people, they fill their caloric load for the day with processed foods that are devoid of nutrients, and even things that actually steal nutrients from the body. So this is a pretty interesting little thing to think about. So when you take a processed food, let's just take like sugar, like plain white sugar, okay? So that came originally from a sugar cane, right, which looks much different than regular sugar. So if you were to eat sugar cane, there's all these things in place, right? There's fiber and there's nutrients from the plant and all that stuff to where your body could process the sugar cane. Well, when it's broken down to that processed white sugar, your body can't process that without all those things being present. Well, sugar is just sugar. It doesn't have nutrients and vitamins and fiber and all those things. So where does that come from? It actually leaches it from your body. So nutrients that you have in your body, it takes those so that they can bind to the sugar so that then you can process the sugar. So it literally is pulling it out of your body. Okay, so that's really important to know. So if you're eating a lot of sugar and processed foods, you're actually losing nutrients in the process of consuming calories. So that's how we can be a fat nation that's actually undernourished. And that's really kind of a strange thing, but we have an obesity epidemic and a malnourishment issue in our country. And those things seem like they shouldn't go together, but they actually do in our case. So we're the sickest industrialized nation in the world. The military even reports that that is their biggest security fear. So it's not really anymore. It's no longer terrorism. It's not, you know, an atomic bomb or something like that. Their biggest fear is that our nation is so sick that we will collapse because we cannot even defend ourselves, or because the health crisis will become so bad that we actually bankrupt ourselves through the health crisis. And so they report that as their #1 current security fear. So that's pretty scary. 7 leading causes of death in the U.S. are heart disease, cancer, chronic lower respiratory disease, stroke, accidents, Alzheimer's disease, and diabetes. We spend billions of dollars on healthcare after we're sick and very little on effective preventive wellness. Okay, so that's just kind of like all of our basic stuff. Most of you guys know most of that stuff anyway because you've heard me talk before, but it's just always good to remind yourself, because even myself, you know, I start to kind of get on a slippery slope and then kind of have to drag yourself back up by the bootstraps back to the top again. Okay, so supplementation, because that's what we're here to talk about. So supplementation can help, but there's a lot of things you need to know. And I want to start with the bad stuff first. So first of all, the supplement industry is non-regulated. There is no overarching body that goes in and tests a supplement to see if it contains what it says it contains. Okay, and that's really important because, man, some of the stuff that I've learned on this recently is just so crazy, but like a supplement company, let's say you have an expensive supplement company that actually does put out a fairly good product. When that product expires, they simply peel the label off and sell it to a cheaper company who then puts their label on it and then puts it on the market. If you're buying on Amazon or online somewhere, oftentimes those products are counterfeit. So they've bought really cheap supplements, they've made fake labels for them, and then, I mean, there's just no regulation. You have no idea what you're getting. Many of these supplements, there's an organization that goes in and tests them, and they've found things like rock, like it's just ground up rocks inside the pills that you think you're taking, or table salt, or just like crazy stuff. Like it's not anything what it says. And almost none of them that are just like pulled off the shelves tested and actually contained what they said. And actually the worst of all of those is probiotic. So many probiotics, they claim to have billions and billions of probiotics in it, and when they tested them, it's, you know, either like way, way low or like way, way high. Like it's never anywhere near what it says. So that's really interesting, and that's important to note because you want to make sure that if you're paying good money for something, you're getting what you wanted to get in there. Okay? So supplements contain fillers and synthetic ingredients that your body can't even absorb. So they can have things like brown rice syrup and just corn and stuff like that in there. Hey, Jordan. Jordan, this is Dr. Jordan Axe, and he actually it works out at New City Chiropractic, but he has done a lot of research in the supplement industry and stuff like that. And so he also owns the Crazy Kombucha, which we carry now. So he's here to also help with fielding the questions. And we are videoing this time because the request for video this time was extreme. So
awesome.
You're on video,
okay.
So don't misspeak.
Yeah,
because it's going to be on the interwebs, and the whole world will see it.
So we're doing off the paper, okay. That works.
Yeah, this is
okay.
my little paper that I made.
Okay, cool.
There we go. All right, so we're down here in the supplement industry stuff. Okay, so many of the supplements just contain all this crap, and nobody is regulating that. And then, like we said, we were just talking about counterfeit supplements and all that, because you and I talked about that before this.
Yeah.
Some of the crazy stuff. Did you have anything you want to share on that? The counterfeit supplements and the fillers and all the junk that's in there? Off the top of your head? I put you on the spot.
There's a lot of random things I'm thinking about. I know one like vitamin C, for instance. Have you got into the specifics?
The individuals? Not yet.
Okay, I'm going to wait and chime in at the right time.
You're going to chime in at the right time?
Before I ramble in, yeah.
You can ramble in because...
I'll wait till we get to that area.
Okay.
Because there's certain things with each vitamin I want to say.
Oh gosh. All right. So we're gonna get intense then. All right. We'll pull out that. I brought that sheet in here as well.
Okay. Perfect.
So, all right. Now I'm excited. Okay. All right, so next, so it's important to note that poor gut health can reduce absorption, okay? So if you're already having like a ton of gut issues, then some of these nutrients that you're taking can't even be absorbed in your body to begin with. And it's important to say here that nothing, absolutely nothing, no supplement will ever trump lifestyle stuff. So a good diet, stress management, exercise, keeping your weight down. There's no supplement that can magically fix those things that you're not doing. And it's really important that I come back and say again, stress management, because I think so many times we kind of like scooch that to the side, but it really wreaks havoc on your body. And when you're not sleeping and your stress level is really, really high, and it's messing up everything that's in there. When everything's messed up in there, you can't absorb the nutrients that you're taking in.
And supplement, it's a supplement. It supplements a healthy lifestyle.
Right. That's a great point. That's a great point.
It's literally what it is right in the word that it's called. So
there is no magic pill, basically.
There's no it's literally just supplementing what you're already doing. It's not a replacement or anything like that. Our soils are so depleted. You didn't need supplements 50, 100 years ago. You have to have supplements now because of how depleted everything is. And then, with the gut health is so bad right now just because the things that decrease gut health are, like sugars and just processed foods. The other thing is antibiotics. I took so many antibiotics as a kid, that just wrecks your gut. So you need more things now just because you're not absorbing as much. I mean, you're really only as healthy and you're only as healthy as your gut.
That's true, yeah. The research that's coming out on the microbiome is really, really exciting and intriguing about how those things interplay with the body to create absorption and stuff like that. So that's really good. It's also important to know what form of the supplement to get. So an example of this would be like calcium carbonate. Okay, so you go to the doctor, your doctor tells you, oh, you're at risk for osteoporosis, for example, so you should take a calcium supplement. So you go to the store. Well, the cheapest one you'll find will be calcium carbonate, which is literally just like chalk ground up and then like put into a pill. Okay, so that's really important because calcium carbonate, though it's inexpensive, it actually provokes the osteoporosis that you're trying to prevent in the first place because the form is so bad that the body can't use it and it actually depletes its own stores trying to bind to it and use it properly. So it's really important. So there's other forms of calcium that you would be better served to take. So there's actually one, and I'm going to say it wrong, but it's like microcrystallized hydro blah, 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 blah. But it means ground up bone, basically. So you're taking ground up bone. And there's also supplemental foods that you can do. So knowing the form of the supplement that you need is really important. And it's important to know that some needs are best met through therapeutic doses of food rather than taking a pill. So if your supplement regimen is like 20 pills and you got to take like 7 before breakfast and like 10 at lunch and then right before bed you need to take these last 3, like you're not using them properly, okay? You can also use foods in therapeutic doses. So an example of that, just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, garlic is known to reduce high blood pressure. So if you were to take, which I can't really stomach this, but 2 raw cloves of garlic a day in some form, whether that was in some sort of a pressed juice or in a dressing or something like that, that's a therapeutic dose of garlic that can reduce blood pressure. So you see what that is? And there's other examples of that, but that was just one that stuck out in my head just because it sounds so gross to me, but it probably isn't really that gross.
I've eaten like 8 cloves before a day when I was sick.
Are you serious?
Like if I had like a sinus infection or something, just instead of taking
garlic is very therapeutic. You can use it for like candida overgrowth in your gut and things like that too. But you can do that therapeutically by just like using a lot of raw garlic in what you do. Hopefully you're not dating at that time. You already have someone that loves you.
Stay at home.
But again, that's a limited period of time. So just as a supplement often should be used for a set period of time to achieve a set goal, and then it should come out of your regimen. Okay, so you have to think about that as well. And if you think about that ancestrally speaking, because you guys know I always go back to like ancestral diet, primal type diet. In earlier times, that, you know, hundreds of years ago or whatever, everything in our diet was cyclical, you know, so food would be available. Here's a great example. In the spring, when the new shoots of the herbs and the lettuces and things like that would come up, you would eat a lot of those things. Well, those things are really great because they're great for liver detoxification. They're great for binding to heavy metals. They're great to undo all the heavy root vegetables and like preserved meats that you would have eaten in the winter. Do you see how that's just a natural progression of things? So that would be an example of food supplementation. We do that now with pills, but it should come into your life, it should solve a problem, and it should come out of your life. So if you're on it consistently, Bev and I were just talking about a great example of that earlier with the zinc. So like zinc is a great one where if you're supplementing with it, it's really cool. It comes in a liquid form. You place it on your tongue. If you don't taste a metal taste, you are deficient in zinc and you need to take it. So you take a therapeutic dose of zinc until you taste metal. Once you taste that metal taste, you no longer need to take zinc every single day. You've brought your zinc levels up. So that's a really cool example of one that can come into your life and then out of your life when you're back in where you need to be. And I like that example just because it gives you such a great, you have your own cue for that. So that's really cool. Huh? What? Kevin? Don't be talking about it. Okay. A spoonful of zinc, metal. You can also just like bite down on a nail if it tastes like, no, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Okay, but there are a couple of supplements that I would say that you should take every day. And Jordan, you can disagree with me at any point in this. That's okay, because that makes for good conversation. And I have one note I need to go really quick. Let me go back really quick where we were talking about the form of the nutrient. It's also really important if you're trying to create, if you have a set goal of what you're trying to accomplish, it's important that you have this supporting thing. So let's go back to our calcium example. Doctor says you're at risk for osteoporosis. You need to take calcium. You go and you get calcium. And let's even just say you got a good form of calcium, but it was calcium by itself. Well, if you don't have vitamin D and magnesium present, your calcium is useless to you, okay? So it's important to know these things because, like, if you were going to take calcium, someone should have tested you for vitamin D, because without that, then you're just taking it for no good reason. You're not going to achieve the goal that you set out to achieve in the first place.
Yeah, also magnesium. A lot of people that have osteoporosis are actually more deficient in magnesium than they are calcium. That's why, like, if you look at labels of high-quality companies, they'll have, like, a vitamin D, or they'll have, I saw one company in their calcium supplement had 5 times more magnesium than calcium in it.
But that's great, because that's what you need.
They know that the person actually needs that more than they actually need calcium.
So there we go. All right, so supplements that I recommend for day-to-day, and I'll be interested to hear your recommendations and how they go with that. So the first one I brought out was Fermented Cod Liver Oil. I prefer Fermented Cod Liver Oil over fish oil. Do you have a thought on that?
No, there's a lot of things that are said about the oils, but anything fermented is going to be better. So I do.
Yes, because of oxidation. Yeah, so you got to be careful with the fish oil, because if it's not from a good quality company that's third-party tested, it can oxidize, and so oxidation is actually bad for an oil because it creates.
And that's why that's in a dark bottle, not a clear bottle, because the sunlight can oxidize it. So
and it's fermented, so then the oxidation is not as much of an issue. But this is also a naturally occurring source of vitamin A and vitamin D. So I've had a lot of people that have gone on this that have been vitamin D deficient, that it's really helped elevate their levels of vitamin D. So that's really good, and it's a food source. So this is literally, they go and they kill the fish and they take their little livers and they squeeze them. I don't think that's how they really do it. But it is a food source, so it's a natural. They pay people to squeeze the livers.
Not a job I want.
Get it all out. Doesn't that make you want it? Okay, so I take this every day. I take 2 milliliters. Yeah, 2 milliliters of that. Actually, Colt takes that also. So that's one. It's baby safe. All those things I know because you all have little babies at home. but we'll say that for the video purpose. That Colt actually takes that. That was one of his very first foods, was fermented cod liver oil mixed into a pumped breast milk. So, yeah, I know, but he loves it. I didn't bring my probiotic in here, but we have 2 different forms of probiotic here. Here's my thing on probiotics. I'm a little torn on probiotics. How do you feel about probiotics? I feel like we're doing like a podcast.
Yeah, I like that. But
I have my headphones on, I'm talking to my microphone.
like I said, your gut is only as healthy as the bacteria that makes it up. That's literally all your gut is the bacteria that's in it. So if you're killing antibiotics and these different things, you're killing the bad bacteria, you don't have a good gut.
But you're also killing the good bacteria.
You're also killing the good, you're killing the both. You're killing all the bacteria. In your immune system, 80% of it's found in your gut. If you don't have good probiotics in your system, you don't have a good gut.
That's another talk. I can go on the soapbox here.
Yeah.
Don't get me going.
So probiotics, I think, because of what people are doing in their bodies, it's important.
Okay, I'm going to agree. Here's my thing on probiotics. When you look, so first of all, a refrigerated probiotic, in my mind, is a must. The refrigeration helps to maintain them where they're supposed to be when they've sat on the shelf. You don't know what the temperatures they've been in, if they've sat in a storeroom, things like that. Probiotic can't live in that, a bacteria can't really live in that condition. So that it should have, it should definitely not be expired, but it should be refrigerated. But here's the other thing that's really interesting about probiotics. Every one you pick up has a different profile in it. So we have 2 different probiotics that we carry here. One's a powdered, it's called the infant formula. We often give that one to people who have like colitis, ulcerative colitis, gastritis, IBS, things like that. So we do that because you can control the dosage. So if you've never taken a probiotic, if you have IBS or ulcerative colitis or something like that, you really want to dose up because it can be disruptive in your gut. You don't have that there already. So you want to start with a small dose and work your way up. So even something as small as 1/8 of a teaspoon for several days. And then, so I like the infant probiotic. The other interesting thing between them is the infant probiotic has the bifidobacterium, it has 5 different ones, and then it has the lactobacilli, 5 different ones, versus our regular one has 5 different families altogether, but just 1 strain from each family. So that's kind of interesting. Your gut's actually made, it should, like if you went and found a tribal person and like you'd have to collect their poop, which would be weird. I don't know how you say that in like tribal language. I need to collect your poop, but they might kill you.
I'm sure you could pull it off.
They have like a dart, like you know they do the darts on the poisonous frogs, and they'd be like, and you'd be like, but anyway, so if you did that, there's like hundreds and thousands of different strains of bacteria that should be in your gut. Which is interesting because that's actually where like your fermented foods and your kombucha and things like that come in, because every batch of kombucha, when it's well crafted, has a different profile of probiotic. So let's say this one has, we'll call our probiotics like Bob and George. If this batch has Bob and George in it, the next batch might have Sally and Susan in it, and the next batch might have Leah and Betsy in it, you know, or whatever. So every batch of a crafted kombucha has a different probiotic profile.
Yes,
Thank you.
Different strains. That's also what I was going to say is there's tens of thousands of different bacteria in your gut. So if you're taking a probiotic, you're getting like 5 out of thousands. So that's why it's good, I think, to just have a wide variety of fermented foods that you're switching up, you're eating, or taking different probiotics.
So that's a great example of a therapeutic food like we were talking about there. So where a supplement is a great place to start, but a therapeutic dosage of a food is better. So mixing in some kombucha in there for variety. Some drink a little much kombucha. They buy it by the gallon.
Is it bad?
No. It's not really bad. He's going to talk a little bit more about kombucha in a second because that's really his wheelhouse more than mine. I can just like give you that 30-second advertisement, but he can really talk about it. I lost my train of thought. Yep, so that's probiotic. We'll just stop there. That was good enough. I didn't bring my magnesium in here either. So my other one is magnesium chelate. So magnesium is one of those where form matters. There's lots of different forms of magnesium that you can buy. The chelated version which is the one that we carry here. Not say, I mean, you can get it other places, but that's what we carry here. The chelated version is the best form of it and really binds the best and does what it needs to do. Do you have something to say about magnesium?
Nope, yeah, I mean, that's right form, so you want to make sure. I mean, magnesium is like magnesium's going to...
Basically, I'm like a doctor.
Basically.
Basically, not really.
You stayed at Holiday Inn, right?
Yes. Okay.
So, yeah, magnesium, you know, like fish oil, vitamin D, like everyone's heard of that now. Like, that's kind of like a big topic. I think magnesium is kind of...
That's where it's at.
Magnesium is like the next kind of thing that they're really finding that people are deficient in. Like, things like insomnia, muscle spasm, yeah, cramps, even like anxiety and depression and things like
Constipation?
that. Or, yeah, all those have been linked to...
peristalsis of the intestines.
Yeah.
All those things like that.
So, I would definitely agree that's one of the most important supplements.
Okay, those are my top three. Those are my three, like, every day. So every day I never miss fish oil, probiotic, magnesium. I don't always actually take the probiotic, just depends. Like if I have a lot of fermented foods that day, then I don't necessarily bother with the probiotic. But like if I go on vacation and I know I'm not going to have fermented foods, then I'll take it.
I would add vitamin D for sure.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
I would say vitamin D. I'd probably put that at number one.
Anymore, everyone's very deficient in that. Because of sunscreen and stuff like that. Everybody wears sunscreen. That's a whole other talk. I won't talk about that. We could open a can of worms here. But yeah, vitamin D would be the other one. Do you have a form of that you prefer? We have a liquid form here. I can't say the word micellanide.
As long as you get like at least 5,000 a day. And then the same thing, you want it in like a dark capsule so it's not getting oxidized.
And we have a dark glass bottle. Ours is in a dark glass bottle. It's a dropper.
But some companies put vitamin D and probiotic together just so you can absorb more of the vitamin D.
Interesting.
But
all right. Did you want to go through specific nutrients, or do you guys have specific questions you want to ask, or do you want to hear the kombucha talk really quick, and then we'll do questions and answers? Give me
how much time do we have? There's a few things like this.
Till 6:30. So 30 minutes still.
Okay. Well,
you want your papers here?
Just some really interesting things I learned about supplementation is calcium carbonate. Like you said, it's just ground up rock. They're actually finding that the thing is when you get a supplement, it's better to pay money to get a high quality one. If you're going to get a cheap one, it's actually doing more damage than good, a lot of them. Calcium carbonate actually gets deposited into arteries and has been linked to atherosclerosis and things like that.
Right.
B vitamins, that's a big one. You know, I'm going to take B vitamins to get more energy. Synthetic forms of B vitamins, they actually take coal tar and they actually do a chemical reaction reduce it down into vitamin B12. It's literally like a petroleum-based product. That's a synthetic form. That's why you want to get high-quality supplements.
Yeah, we have a B vitamin that we carry here. Also, a great example of that is like folic acid versus folate.
Yeah.
So none of you guys are pregnant or nursing or anything like that, but for the sake of the video, really important to have folate. And this is, I'll never say it right without looking at it, in the form of methyl tetrahydrofolate. So that's the form of folate, folic acid, whatever that you would want. This particular one also is, they pair it with inositol and choline for better absorption. So it's a good B complex. I really like this B complex. A note on the B complex that I'll mention, this is an example of one that can come into your life and come out of your life. So great times to take a B complex. I dose it when someone's like super inflamed. They come to me with a lot of different issues as far as inflammation or really stressed out marathon training. It's a really good time when you're in training for a marathon. It's a great time to take a B vitamin. Another thing on a B vitamin though, this goes back to gut health, is that if you struggle with Gerd or stomach acid issues like Gerd, like that. Reflux, thank you. If you have issues with reflux, you have to get that under control before the B vitamin will serve you any purpose. Because reflux is actually low stomach acid. So when your stomach acid is too low, then, so your stomach has like a mucosal lining, and when the acid, when your stomach's not acidic enough, then the mucus lining becomes depleted, okay? Because it doesn't need to be there, it's there to protect you. Those mucosal cells, though, produce the binding agent for like B12 and actually for iron as well. So if you're struggling with Gerd, acid reflux, things like that, that needs to get under control before you even bother with, and I'm not a big fan of a supplemental form of iron, but even with a therapeutic food dosage of iron, it won't do you any good if you're struggling with acid reflux because you don't have the binding agent there in the first place. So the iron doesn't get absorbed. So a great way to think of that, let's think of that as like, let's say iron looks like this when it comes into your stomach. The mucosal cells make something that looks like this, and they have to come together, and your body doesn't recognize it until it looks like this. So if just this is passing through, your body's like, poop it out, we don't need it. Or worse, actually stores it. So like for men, that stored iron is really bad because it can lead to colorectal cancer. It's a big issue for men more than women. So iron, it's really important that you're absorbing it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, I'm learning new things.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
Doc Bex, that's what they call me. This is my lab coat.
I love it.
All right, go ahead. Keep going. Talk to us more.
Vitamin C, that's another big one. I know I was blown away when I found this out. 90% of all vitamin C is actually manufactured by a pharmaceutical company. I forget which pharmaceutical company it is. Ascorbic acid. So people that had scurvy, they gave them ascorbic acid and it didn't even do anything. Because ascorbic acid is not really vitamin C. It's a synthetic form that, I forget the name of the pharmaceutical company, but they produce 90% of all vitamin C in the United States. So that's one of those things that's best to get from a food. But if you're getting it from a supplement, some of them make like a fermented version of it.
Super glad you brought that up too, because vitamin C often comes from, the ascorbic acid comes from corn. So if you're actually sensitive to corn, so if you have like a sensitivity, an allergy to corn, you're actually causing more damage than good by taking a vitamin C supplement. So it's important because I know a lot of people dose vitamin C when they feel themselves getting sick. They go like crazy. And I would tell you a million times over, a therapeutic dose, hot water and lemon. I drink it every single day. That would actually fall into my daily protocols. The first thing I do in the morning is squeeze a whole lemon into a glass, put some hot water in it, and I just drink it like that. It's the first thing. Also helps with constipation, so if you're like not regular, if you don't drink matcha lattes and you're not regular, then it will help you with that as well. So now that you all know my pooping regimen, that's good. It's very important that we're mature adults that can talk about poop. If you're constipated, let me just say this really quick, that is like the #1 worst thing for your entire body. So if you're not pooping every single day, and you guys, any of you have heard me talk before, you know, I say it every time. If you're not pooping every day, you have to fix that first and foremost. Don't even bother with anything else until you're pooping every day, because it's the worst thing that can, for your body.
Yeah. And they did,
if you're going 3 times a day, it's even better. But that's really hard to
There was a journal that did a study, and women...
It's a goal.
Women that...
Give me stars. You can start calling me. We'll do a star chart. Susan pooped once today, but Kevin pooped 3 times.
Never.
This is exciting. Tell me more. Oh, that's good.
I get paid. I only do it at work.
If you do it at work, then it wastes time at work. It's good.
Getting paid to poop. Program.
Good deal.
Oh, what I was going to say is they did a study, and women that had 3 bowel movements a day versus women that had 1 had a 46% decrease in breast cancer.
That's true. Yeah, that's
so
actually
it shows
true.
the importance of it.
Yeah. But, well, so you have to think, you know, like think about poop. Like, do you really want that in you? It's a waste product. So your body's having to deal with it in some way, right? So it has to deal with it in some way. And so, so the longer it's in there, the worse it is. And like #1 is dehydration on that. So if you're not pooping every day, that's the first place to start is dehydration, like drinking more water than you think you should drink. And all of you guys are active, so you should be drinking even more water than that.
Yeah, just get up and drink, try to drink 20 ounces of water in the morning. I feel like just doing that alone would fix like 70% of people's, at least constipation.
Well, the hot lemon water, that's why the hot lemon water is a great way to start. So then you're getting your vitamin C and I will say on the acid, vitamin C, the ascorbic acid, I do dose that sometimes when people are constipated. if I know they don't have any
It's not necessarily
corn
bad.
fish.
Yeah, you just want to get a good form of it too.
Yeah, but it's not an always nutrient, like one that you should take every day all the time. It's for a purpose. So, all right, good. Was there any other ones that you want to talk about?
Not particular. I guess I could ask questions at the end. We could answer.
Okay,
Maybe
give a spiel on kombucha, and then
Okay.
I know Bev has questions to ask, so we'll start with you, Bev, because then I know we'll have questions.
So, the you just want to talk about kombucha for a second?
Yeah, talk about kombucha for a
So the main thing, the main reason kombucha is so good, is gut health, because that is an epidemic right now. If you don't, like I said, if you don't have good gut health, you're not absorbing, nothing else really matters. So one of the main benefits of kombucha is it's just you take tea and you basically ferment it. And when you ferment it, it eats all the sugar in it, it releases things like probiotics, gluconic acid, vinegar. So when it releases these byproducts, the number one thing, like I said, is probiotics. You're getting a couple billion in each bottle, maybe more, it depends. But like she said, they're all different types of strains. That's going to help with digestion. The second thing is gluconic acid. Kombucha, is, out of all the foods and fermented things, has the highest amounts of gluconic acid. So that directly helps your liver detoxify.
And for our purposes, it makes you less sore. Just so you know that.
Yeah, I didn't know
helps
that.
in muscle recovery.
Okay,
so it's really so gluconic and glucuronic acid are both really like drinking kombucha after you work out is really great because number one, it's refreshing and it tastes super yummy. But number two, much less important, it makes you less sore the next day. It helps your muscles, it aids in recovery of the muscle. So it also provides great antioxidants because those are actual, real, organic fruits that are put into our kombucha. I can't speak for other kombuchas, but the two brands that we carry are small batch crafted. So it's actually like Jordan came in the other day and the first pour of his berry was literally berry slush where he had ground up organic blueberries and they had fermented in there. So the very first pour was this kind of nasty, nasty, thick, like blueberry. It looked like a blueberry
like a smoothie
kind of, but it had gone wrong because it's actual. So the antioxidants fight because exercise is oxidative stress on the body. Granted, you get oxidative stress all the time, but you need antioxidants to go against the oxidative stress. So it's a great way to bring those antioxidants in large doses, right, Kevin? Mm-hmm. Except the cream soda, I don't think has any fruits in it for antioxidant purposes.
Yeah, the creamberry.
A cream and a creamberry and a soda vegetable.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Soda bean.
Actually, I think it has sarsaparilla in it, and sarsaparilla is a root, like a herb. So we call it that. Yeah. So it's probably just the same. 64 at a time. Good.
Yeah, and the last thing would be the vinegar. It's literally just like everyone's heard of apple cider vinegar, all the health benefits of that. So that's exactly what it has in it. Is basically it's kombucha vinegar instead of apple cider vinegar.
You've never known anyone that can take apple cider vinegar like a champ. Like Bev will just like back a bottle up and just like chug that like it's like a party or something. She kegs it like
it is a party.
Keg stands with the apple cider.
Me and you, Bev.
That's right.
I love apple cider vinegar.
Oh, I can't do it.
No, what had happened was, I texted back one night, I said, okay, because I had really bad indigestion, and I'm like, okay girl, I remember you saying something about this, I'm like, am I going to die if I go and just take a shot of apple cider vinegar? Because I can't do what Mark does, I can't sip it with water, I'd rather just shoot it and be done with it. And
She's one of those kind of girls.
And she was just like, yeah.
That's not the only thing she likes to just shoot.
But it was just like, I mean, gone.
In a second.
Belch anymore. The burning was gone. I thought it was.
So I'll just explain why that happens, just so that people understand the mechanism there. So we kind of touched on acid reflux and Gerd. So what actually happens is like you have like your acid-base scale from like 1 to whatever. But 1 is super acidic. Like if you dropped a penny in it, it would dissolve the penny type thing. So your stomach acid should actually be at like a 2, 3, 4 is on the low end, a little too basic. And so what happens is that through antibiotic use, our processed diets, vegan and vegetarianism really leads to low stomach acid. And so what will happen is the acid in the stomach sends actually a chemical messenger to the, what's the flap?
The superior esophageal sphincter.
There, the esophageal sphincter. I was testing you, see if
Oh,
see
very
if you're so good. All right, the esophageal sphincter. So it sends a chemical message, and when the acid is acidic enough, it holds tight. When there's not that chemical message, it becomes loose or flaccid. I like to use that word when I can. Flaccid. And when that happens, the stomach acid comes up. But the thing about that is, even like a 4 or 5 is still gonna burn the crap out of your esophagus. So it feels like a burn. You say, I have lots of acid. And that is still an acid. However, it's not as acidic as it should be. So actually raising the acid in your stomach will send a message to the esophageal sphincter to close. So vinegar is an acidic compound. Kombucha is also acidic. And so when you take those things, so when you have GERD, a shot of apple cider vinegar, literally like that will send the message, close up the esophageal sphincter, and the GERD will go away. So, right. Hot lemon water can work sometimes too, but when you're in the mix of it, apple cider vinegar, nothing can beat it. So, and so a problem with that is a lot of people take Tums. So number 1, that's calcium carbonate. Okay, so we just learned that's not good, like, right, it clogs your arteries, atherosclerosis, that's the hardest word. And then it also lowers your stomach acid further. So now you've taken something that lowers the stomach acid, so it's lowered it to the point that it has to be so low that it no longer burns your esophagus. See, that didn't stop the stomach acid from coming up, it lowered it and made it basic. Well, if it's basic, how does it dissolve your foods? Meaning that it slows the movement of foods through the stomach because it's not breaking them apart. So often, if you struggle with constipation, low stomach acid is one of the issues that's there. Okay? So that would be in a therapeutic food type of a situation where a supplement is not what you need there. A therapeutic food is what you need there.
That's exactly what I was going to say, actually. No, it really was. That was going to be my next point. Was this the whole esophageal thing?
All right.
So that was good.
Good. All right.
We were same wavelength.
ESP. All right. Questions? Bev, shoot them. So we make sure we have time for them.
Okay, now the vitamin B, you touched on that. Now you said that needs to be in a fermented form?
No. So we have our B complex, unless you said something about fermented vitamin. No, okay. Yeah, we have our B complex, which is what we use. This just hits, the major things. It gives you, this is a therapeutic dose though. So this is, again, it's not something that you would take necessarily every day, but let me use an example of marathon training, okay? So like in marathon training, so in the real marathon training, like the real world, you don't do it quite like Leah does it, but you train for a race and then you have like an off season. But these guys are marathon maniacs, meaning that they try to hit a certain number of marathons in a certain number of states in a certain amount of time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they do crazy stuff. So if that's the case, I would use it when you're like in your highest training. I know you guys still do cut back, but like in the highest training phases, then you would do vitamin B complex. And another thing we didn't mention, but I wrote it on the paper, is that's stress for the body. Stress is stress is stress. So we've talked about this in our talks a million times. It doesn't matter. That's stress. And so I like ashwagandha for that as a herbal supplement. So that would also be like a therapeutic food. Ashwagandha is an herb. You can drink it as a tea, but I think it has a pretty strong flavor. You can buy it in powdered form. I cheat. I do it in a liquid form. We can get that in here, so through our lab. But I do a liquid form. Has a weird taste, but it's an eyedropper full, and I'm done with it. So I use that, like for example, when like a couple nights in a row, Colt hasn't slept, or I have a supplement talk that I'm trying to prep for. Jordan can't get my kombucha to me on time. I have 2 empty taps and like the stress level is just like here. Then that's when I'll dose ashwagandha a couple times. So you would use ashwagandha if you were to use that. I would use that like the day before, the day of, and the 2 days after, like a 20+ mile run is when I would use something like that. B complex I would use when you're in like your 18, 20, those weeks. And then on weeks that you're not, I wouldn't bother with it. It will make you pee super yellow, so it's important. very important to mention that you will pee super yellow. Do not be afraid.
Isn't kombucha high in vitamin B?
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. That's true. Kombucha also has vitamin B. But here's the thing, is that it's not always the same. So that would be like a way to use it therapeutically on a daily or almost daily basis.
To be honest,
It's not that high.
there's not that much vitamin B in it. It's more.
The ones that you're thinking because the GTs has it written on there, but remember that like GTs, kombucha, anything that's written on there, that's not regulated either. It falls under supplements. So I think that they kind of
There is a little bit in there, but it's not like right on the
You know,
belt.
I think that's interesting though. I would be interested. I think maybe some holds more than others because when I first gave birth to the baby, remember? I mean, I was like, I craved kombucha like crazy, and then I started taking a B complex, and that craving, like, I mean, I think I could have drank in like 32 or 60 ounces a day. I mean, I just craved it. And then when I went on the B complex. You're pregnant. You just had a baby. That's the problem. It did kind of solve it. So I think I wonder how that all fits in. But
Well, it's going to help. You're going to absorb more B vitamins by drinking kombucha.
this is true, like on your foods and stuff.
Because your
Although
digestive health is
yeah.
better.
I also did start eating organ meats at that point, which would be
Yeah, that's pretty big,
too.
yeah.
So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
All right. Other ones.
What about B17? Two guys I work with eat, the apricot seed. What's inside of it.
Okay.
That's the B17.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard about that, but I'm not
It's
real.
it's like a potpourri explosion in your mouth.
Here's what I'm going to tell you about. So I don't know. I don't know the actual research on that, and I'll be the first one to say that. But this is what I'll put out there. It's really important to know that nature made seeds so that they can make it through a digestive system and reproduce, right? It wouldn't make sense if you were supposed to eat a seed because that wouldn't work with the circle of life. So I always go back to like the circle of life. An example of that, peach pits, plum pits, they have cyanide in them. So that's to make you puke them back up so that they can still create a plant. Okay, so like if a dog eats a whole peach, we had this. My dog had to go because it ate like 10 peaches out of my yard. So they actually contain cyanide. Things like other seeds, like quinoa is actually a seed, millet's actually a seed. We soak them because they actually have anti-nutrients in them to make them get through your body. So I would say that I feel like that's a craze that doesn't have any real backing on it because it doesn't make sense from a circle of life type of perspective.
Next time they go like that, I'm like.
A great example, here's one that you can think of, corn, right? Here's a great example. It goes in and it comes out because the corn is the actual seed. Okay, so there's like a simple example you can think of, and that's true. You don't need any seeds in nature that don't come out the way that they went in. So.
We're back to poop again.
Listen, among friends, everything comes back to sex and poop. It's true. All conversation eventually degrades to sex.
My husband
and poop.
studies poop for a living. That's what he does. Is analyzes baby poop.
Well, I've got some good poop for everyone. My kids would be
That's a great
phenomenal,
job.
I'm sure.
That's a carpet job. That's what he does. He gets paid to do it too.
Yeah.
See you at the house, babe.
Okay.
Unless you just want to hang out because he's sleeping. This commercial is brought to you by my baby Colt. He's sleeping. You can stay since he's sleeping. All right, and back to our regularly scheduled program.
Glad you have permission.
All right.
Fermented foods, you mentioned that. My ignorance, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Great. So I'm glad you asked that question. So fermented foods, there's actually a ton of them. We can go a million directions with this. So a simple one that you've heard of would be sauerkraut. The problem is, like, if you buy sauerkraut at the store, it's going to be pasteurized, which means it's going to kill off those probiotics that are really in it and beneficial. Kombucha would be an example of a raw living, as long as it's not pasteurized. I'm not sure. Are there pasteurized ones?
I think
on
there
the
are
market?
now. But, I mean, anything fermented is just a food, and there's a bacteria in it that eats the sugar that's in it and ferments
Sure.
it.
A great,
So-
simple example of that would be sourdough bread. So sourdough bread's really pretty interesting in that people that are typically sensitive to gluten often can eat sourdough bread because what happens is the bacterial culture in a sourdough bread actually eats those anti-nutrients. So it starts the digestive process for you. So that's why fermented foods are so great, is because the digestive process is started by another organism. So you might think of that as rotting, but it's actually fermenting. Yogurt is another fermented food. That's a great example of one. Actually, raw milk ferments within like a week. If you have raw milk at your house, then every day after that week, then the probiotic culture changes within the raw milk because it's fermenting, it's changing. Simple thing you can do, you can like go on Amazon and actually buy a vegetable culture starter. They come in packets and it's like a little pouch. And like, I mean, I'll ferment anything. I just throw it in a jar, a little bit of water, a little bit of sugar to feed the culture, and I pour like some packet in there. So like we have fermented raspberries sitting in our fridge. And then when there's not fresh raspberries that are, you know, a good price and things like that, you can just pull out your fermented food. They stay like that forever. You can ferment anything. So there's a great book if you're interested in learning more about, there's a couple great books on that. There's one called Wild Fermentation, and there's a really good one called Nourishing Traditions, because you can ferment any grain and it makes it much more edible. So you can actually like, you can ferment beans before you cook them or sprout them, things like that.
Yeah. Any other questions? I have one more thing I want to say.
Say
I want to see if anyone has any other questions.
No more questions? None? I can't say enough. Again, well, never mind, that's good. Go ahead.
You know, I've done quite a few health talks, so I always kind of like to bring it full circle, because there's so many questions about, it gets confusing. People are like, well, do I need to be exercising? Do I need to be eating? What's this thing about like detox? Like, does everyone get kind of confused, like what's what?
I do sometimes even.
So, you know, one thing that I teach at our office is the 5 essentials of health. Kind of goes back to what she was talking about with stress. So the 5 essentials we teach of health are your mindset, your nervous system, your nutrition, fitness, and then the 5th one is toxicity. I believe if you do all 5 of those things, your body can overcome it like anything. You're just an organism. If you give that organism what it needs, it's going to do the right thing. So,
That's right. I think that's a great.
So, you know, she's talking about mindset. If you're stressed out all the time, your body, you know, you're releasing cortisol, stress hormones, you're negative, you're never going to be healthy. Just what you think can change the stomach makeup in your gut in like 15 minutes, just by what you're thinking. And, you know, the nervous system, your brain controls everything. You know, for your heart to beat, for you to digest food, your brain is sending messages down the spinal cord to tell your gut what to do in the first place. You can eat all the right foods, and that's going to help, but if your nervous system isn't working correctly, it doesn't matter. That's why, like, everyone heard of, like, scoliosis? We do a lot of scoliosis correction in our office because those people almost always have digestive disorders. They have hormonal female problems because of the curvature in their spine. And these people are frustrated because they're eating, they're exercising, but they're not getting the results. So,
signal is being blocked.
Yeah, so you think, she's talking about stress. You can have mental stress, physical stress. If you run 10 marathons constantly, like, that's not always really good for your health because that's a stress on the body. And you're running for 10 hours at a time.
10 hours. You better finish it before 10
What?
hours.
Whoa, not that slow.
Yeah, but one thing people don't realize is there's also stress on the nervous system. If you're sitting at a desk all day and you're stressing your spinal cord, that's like putting your body in a fight or flight. Just like your emotions, what you think can put you in a stressful situation, putting stress on your nervous system can put your whole system at a fight or flight response.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that because that's true also when you have just like an ache, like a constant ache, something that you're not treating. And Betsy can speak to this firsthand, but if you're having like a minor injury or like you said, like an issue, like a structural issue, that right there is a huge stress on your body that you might not recognize. And I can't say enough about stress and sleep.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to bring it back, and I even bring it back just like one more step and say, you know, if you're not sleeping and you're stressed out, those are the first things that you need to fix. And then I would say after, well, maybe with that goes diet, because oftentimes you can't achieve that without some diet fixes, but that's really important.
Yeah, there's no secret. I always say there's no secret food, there's no secret workout, there's no secret adjustment. It's just a matter of starting to implement, like I said, the 5 essentials.
Sure.
And as far as supplementation goes, that's just another journey, a piece of the puzzle as far as your nutrition goes. So that's why I think really thinking about those 5 things as a holistic approach is how you're going to reach
Yeah.
optimal health.
And supplementation, though, as I'll also say, those other things will take you 80 or 90%. Supplementation can really only take you the last 10 or 20%. So if those other things aren't there. The last thing I do want to say is a commercial for our supplements, and that's just to let you know that our supplements are actually made in a medical grade facility. They are third-party tested, which means that another party comes in and tests them for what they say they are. It's what's in them. And so that's really important to us that we have a supplement that we believe in. So that is important for me to say. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. If you come up with questions later, feel free to email them to me, and that's good. And oh yeah, and Dr. Jordan Axe, he's out at New City Chiropractic, so they do a great job out there. I know. If
They're
you
booked.
have
Forget
things,
about it. They're booked.
They're booked solid. They're so good. But they do a lot with structural correction and things like that. So and like whole life fixes. So all right, great. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.